Welcome to a deep dive into the life of, well, a pretty remarkable figure. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam.
I like that. Remarkable doesn't even begin to cover it, really.
You've brought us excerpts from his autobiography.
My journey, transforming dreams into actions.
That's the one. And it's clear you're not interested in just a dry biography.
No, not at all. We want the good stuff, the philosophies.
Exactly. The experiences that made Kalam, well, Kalam.
Finding those golden nuggets. That's what this deep dive is all about.
So let's jump right in. Kalam's childhood home, this island town of Ramswaram.
It really comes alive in his writing.
It's like its own character. Coconut groves, that ever-present sea, the rhythm of it all. And a community, well, where different faiths weren't just tolerating each other.
This was genuine harmony. Hindus, Muslims, Christians, all interwoven.
And this wasn't just some idyllic backdrop, right? This was fundamental.
To Kalam's entire worldview. It's remarkable, actually. He tells this incredible anecdote about his great-great-grandfather. Now, keep in mind, his family, they're Muslim. But this ancestor, he saved a temple idol from disaster.
Wait, he saved a temple idol? Okay, now I have to hear this story.
Picture this. A temple, right, their sacred idol, it's in danger of being completely lost. And it's Kalam's ancestor, this Muslim man, who steps in, saves the day,
Yeah.
earns the heartfelt gratitude of the temple priests. I mean, talk about interfaith respect.
Wow. That's a powerful story. Really makes you think about, looking beyond our differences to find that common ground, especially today, right?
It's a lesson we could all stand to learn from, I think.
Absolutely. But it wasn't just the kind of wider community. His own family, especially his father, were huge.
Rana Labdin, Kalam's father, yeah, he was a boat owner and the imam of their local mosque.
Quite a combination.
A man who lived a life of simplicity, spirituality, and this deep connection to nature. Kalam talks about his father's daily walks. Before dawn, every day, finding solace and inspiration in the quiet of the morning.
It's like those walks were a form of meditation. Or prayer, even.
Connecting with something larger than himself, exactly. And he instilled that same sensibility in young Kalam.
Not about rigid dogma or anything.
No. More about understanding the essence of faith, the universal values, compassion, honesty, service that transcend any one religion.
That really resonates with me, that idea of faith being more about how you live than any one set of beliefs.
And we see this reflected in Zainal Abidin's incredible generosity. This wasn't a wealthy man, by any means. Simple life, but always ready to help. Whether it was offering guidance as the mosque's imam or lending a hand to those in need, always there.
So Kalam, he inherited that, didn't he? That sense of empathy, responsibility towards their community.
Passed down through generations. Beautiful, isn't it?
APA.
But it wasn't just his father. His mother, Ashama, she played just a crucial role in his upbringing.
Kalam speaks so fondly of her. Those simple meals, all gathered on the kitchen floor, how she always put her children's needs before her own.
The anchor of their family. That's what she was. Quiet strength, unwavering love, and this incredible ability to manage a large household with, honestly, very limited resources.
She embodied resilience, didn't she? Making do with less, finding joy in the simple things.
Those values, hard work, sacrifice, those were lessons Kalam carried with him throughout his life.
So we have this incredible foundation, a unique blend of cultural influences, family values, an emphasis on education. You can see how this sets the stage.
Absolutely. But it was also a childhood punctuated by real hardship, global events that left their mark on young Kalam. For instance, he talks about his experience delivering newspapers during World War II.
At 8 years old, during a war. That's incredible.
Imagine this, the train station in Rameswaram. It's no longer a stop because of wartime restrictions.
Makes sense. Everything's disrupted.
So young Kalam, he has to adapt. Every single day, he would race to a spot along the tracks where bundles of newspapers were thrown off the speeding train.
Talk about dedication, right? Resourcefulness. Didn't he have school and Arabic lessons too?
And early morning math tuitions, if you can believe it.
Wow.
This speaks volumes about his work ethic, even at that age.
But even more, that sense of responsibility to his family.
Absolutely. He wasn't just delivering newspapers, he was contributing, helping them through an incredibly challenging time.
Those early brushes with responsibility or resilience, they leave their mark, don't they? But we can't overlook another defining aspect of his childhood. That fascination with engineering. It didn't just appear out of thin air.
Oh no. It was sparked by watching his father build those boats.
Right there in the workshop.
And it wasn't just a passing interest. Kalam was captivated. The way his father transformed raw materials, wood and metal, into these vessels that connected people and places.
It's like witnessing magic, right?
Absolutely. The birth of something tangible, purposeful.
So the seeds of his engineering spirit sown right there.
And those seeds, nurtured by another pivotal figure in Kalam's early life, his cousin, Ahmed Jalaluddin.
Tell me about this cousin. What was their relationship like?
This wasn't just family. Jalaluddin became young Kalam's first real mentor,
Guiding his curiosity.
shaping his worldview. Think of him as a bridge between that practical world of boat building his father came from and the world of ideas, of philosophy, engaging young Kalam in deep conversations about God, faith, the mysteries of the universe.
What's fascinating is how Kalam's early influences weren't confined to one specific thing. He's got the engineering, the deep spirituality.
It's this fusion that became a recurring theme throughout his life.
Science and spirituality, two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. And Jalaluddin really helped him see that interconnectedness, the idea that there isn't just one way to understand the world around us.
His mind was like a garden,
I love that analogy.
where those seeds of science and spirituality were planted early, nurtured, and they grew intertwined.
Beautifully put. And it's within that fertile ground of his childhood, with the values instilled by his parents, the mentorship of his cousin, that exposure to such diverse perspectives. That's where Kalam's own aspirations really began to take root.
Aspirations that would lead him on a path, well, let's just say filled with some unexpected twists and turns,
I'd say at least.
pushing him to confront challenges and redefine success on his own terms.
His is an extraordinary journey.
But those, my friend, are stories for our next installment. When we left off, you were talking about Kalam's aspirations taking root.
Right, those early ambitions.
And like a lot of young people, his weren't exactly a straight line, were they?
Oh, not at all. Like many his age, he initially set his sights on the skies.
He wanted to be a pilot,
That's right. Captivated by the idea of flight, pushing boundaries.
of what's possible, what humans can do.
You got it. And he went after it, I'll give him that, with everything he had.
Studying, prepping for those Air Force entrance exams.
I bet he was picturing himself up there above the clouds.
Oh, yeah. But life, as it so often does,
It has other plans, doesn't it? Sometimes redirects us when we least expect it.
and not always in ways we like.
That's the thing about life. You're talking about him not making the Air Force. Right.
Yeah. I mean, that had to be crushing after putting in all that work.
It was. Deeply disappointing. It really made him question his path, his purpose, the whole thing.
I think a lot of us, we've felt that when you strive for something so hard and it just doesn't work out.
That feeling of rejection, it stings.
And it makes you wonder, what do you do when those carefully made plans just fall apart?
Right. How do you respond? Kalam, he turned inward, in a way,
You went on that pilgrimage, right?
to the Sivananda ashram up in Rishikesh.
Seeking solace, maybe some answers too.
He needed guidance, and he found it in a way he probably didn't expect from Swami Sivananda himself.
Wow. Okay, that's incredible. What happened at the ashram?
So picture this. Young Kalam, disappointed, seeking wisdom from this renowned spiritual leader.
Yeah.
And Swami Sivananda, he recognizes Kalam's turmoil.
I bet he'd seen it 100 times before.
Probably more. And he offers these words, simple but profound, that really changed Kalam's entire trajectory. Accept your destiny.
Accept your destiny. Man, there's a lot packed into those 3 words.
It's about surrender, isn't it? Trusting that sometimes a closed door
Is actually opening to something else.
may be something even greater. And that's what happened with Kalam. That shift in perspective, that's what led him away from those open skies.
And into the world of rocket science.
Which, when you really think about it,
Still about pushing boundaries, exploring the unknown, just a different direction.
reaching for the stars instead of flying through the clouds.
Yeah.
And this new path, it began at the DTD&P,
Now, remind me what that stands for again?
the Directorate of Technical Development and Production. He landed a position there as a senior scientific assistant.
Not a bad gig. And it's that he really gets into engineering, that hands-on innovation.
Oh, yeah. And one of his early projects, building the Nandi hovercraft, that really shows you Kalam's style, how he approached problems, did amazing things with limited resources.
I've heard about this hovercraft. Didn't exactly go smoothly, though, did it?
Not exactly a walk in the park, no. Imagine this. A team of young engineers, more enthusiasm than actual experience, tasked with building a machine that can practically fly over land and water. Both.
Ambitious.
They hit all sorts of hurdles, designing the lift system, figuring out how to make it stable.
All on a tight budget, I bet.
You got it. But they relied on their ingenuity, using whatever they could find. learning as they went.
It's that old saying, right? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Exactly. And through it all, there's Kalam, dedicated, leading his team, not afraid of hard work, getting his hands dirty right alongside them,
That's a good leader right there.
learning from their mistakes, celebrating every little victory. That's Kalam. He embodies that spirit of the greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall.
Powerful stuff. But it wasn't all technical challenges, was it?
Ah, you're talking about fire.
Had to be scary. A real reminder that pushing boundaries, well, sometimes it's dangerous.
Right. They were working with sodium, incredibly volatile stuff.
Then it exploded.
A single drop of sweat, that's all it took, and boom, huge explosion.
A drop of sweat. You're kidding. Talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
It could have been the end for Kalam, but his colleague, Sudhakar, he stepped up,
That true hero.
without hesitation, smashed a window with his bare hand, pushed Kalam to safety, then jumped out himself.
Wow. Just incredible quick thinking.
Sudhakar, he sustained serious injuries, but he saved Kalam's life.
Wow. Talk about a debt of gratitude. And it shows the bonds that form when you go through something like that together.
It did change Kalam, deeply. The gratitude for Sudhakar, of course, but also this weight of responsibility. Knowing the risks that come with scientific exploration. It's a turning point in his work, but in his whole outlook, too.
Makes sense to go through something like that. So we've got these early influences, then the challenges, the triumphs. But can we talk about Vikram Sarabhai? He seems crucial to this whole story.
Talk about a visionary. As the founder of ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, he wasn't just building a space program, he was nurturing an entire generation of scientists.
And Kalam was one of them.
Right under his wing. Think about it. India, back then, facing poverty, struggling to develop basic infrastructure,
Yeah.
but they aimed for the stars.
And made it happen. ISAR's achievements, they're astounding.
It all goes back to Sarabhai. He had this vision, knew that progress wasn't just about technology, but about igniting scientific curiosity on a national scale.
Inspiring people to dream bigger.
That's it, exactly. And he saw that spark in Kalam.
Right from the start.
Beyond the technical skills, he recognized Kalam's dedication, his out-of-the-box thinking.
That's what a good mentor does, They see potential maybe even you don't see in yourself.
Absolutely. It was more than just boss and subordinate. It was a true mentorship. They connected on an intellectual level. And it wasn't just about rockets and satellites either.
Oh, right. There's that story about how Sarabhai secured the land for the Thumba Equatorial Rocket Launching Station.
From the Bishop of Trivandrum. Now that's a story.
It's amazing, isn't it? A scientist and a religious leader finding common ground to build a space center.
You've got to hand it to Sarabhai. He knew how to connect with people. He went to the bishop, explained his vision, not just for the technology, but for what it represented.
Reaching for something bigger than themselves.
Exactly. And he framed it in a way that resonated with the bishop. How science and religion, they both seek to understand this vast universe we're part of.
Incredible. And the bishop, he was moved, agreed to dedicate the church's land, all of it, to this project.
You see, that's what happens when you look past the surface, find that common thread.
It's really inspiring, especially these days. So back to Kalam. He's thriving under this mentorship.
He's given responsibility, encouragement, the freedom to experiment, to take risks. That's how you grow.
And he blossoms, becomes the leader we remember him as.
Sarabhai fostered that whole culture at ISRO. Trust, collaboration, true innovation. And Kalam was at the heart of it. But there's another side to him, one people often miss.
The literature lover, the bookworm.
That's the one. And it's not just a hobby. Kalam was an avid reader his whole life. Tamil literature, English classics, philosophy, everything.
Never stopped learning, never stopped exploring.
He believed in the power of stories, of words, to transport you, challenge your thinking.
I love that about him. It wasn't just about escaping reality either.
No, he was searching for wisdom in those pages.
Guidance for life, something to learn from every author, every book.
He wove it all together, The science, the spirituality, his love for literature. It informed his leadership, his problem solving, everything.
That intellectual curiosity, it's something else. Never want to be boxed in.
And that exploration of Kalam the reader, that's what we'll dive into next.
We're back, diving deeper into the life of this incredible man, APJ Abdul Kalam. And this time, it's personal.
You could say that.
We're talking books. The ones that captivated him, shaped his worldview. It's fascinating, isn't it? For someone so immersed in science, technology, his love for literature really stands out.
It shows you the kind of mind he had. Always curious, never satisfied with just one way of seeing things.
He was a true student his whole life.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And for Kalam, literature, that was one of his greatest teachers.
And not just, the technical stuff. We're talking ancient scriptures, classic poetry, biographies, philosophy, you name it, he read it.
That's the thing about Kalam. He devoured it all
Mm.
with this incredible thirst for knowledge. I love that story about the bookseller in Madras.
The one where he, what was it, mortgaged a book to afford a train ticket home? I have to admit, I laughed out loud when I read that.
It's classic, isn't it? A true book lover's dilemma.
You've got your priorities straight, right? A good book over a comfortable ride. But seriously, it shows you how much those books meant to him, even as a young man.
It wasn't just a pastime. They were a lifeline to knowledge, to new perspectives, a way to nurture his own spirit.
And he mentions a few that really stayed with him, right? Like The Light of Asia by Edwin Arnold.
A beautiful book. It introduced him to the life and teachings of Buddha. Those universal values, compassion, peace, self-discovery. You could see how they resonated with Kalam, shaped his whole approach to leadership.
Building a better world, not just better rockets.
Exactly. And then there's the Thirukkural, that classic Tamil text, ethics, morality, it's all there.
Shows that deep connection to his own heritage, doesn't it?
Absolutely. He saw those ancient principles as timeless, as relevant today as they ever were.
True progress isn't just about technology, is it?
It's about our values, our ethics, growing as human beings alongside all that advancement.
Now, there was another one that stood out, Man the Unknown by Alexis Carrel.
Oh, that's a fascinating choice.
It is. What do you make of it?
Well, Carroll, he was really interested in this mind-body connection, how they influence each other, the importance of our well-being, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually, too.
It's like a foreshadowing of Kalam's own approach, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. This belief that we are not just our bodies, but also these spiritual beings on a journey of self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And that journey, it's informed by everything we encounter, every book we read, every experience we have.
It's like he took threads from all these different worlds, science, religion, art, philosophy, and wove them together into something truly unique.
His own tapestry of knowledge. And that's what guided him, inspired him. And ultimately, I think that's what inspired so many others.
And that's a powerful takeaway, isn't it? Progress, true progress. It's about more than just technical know-how.
It's about embracing those different perspectives, finding inspiration wherever you can, nurturing your own spirit just as much as you nurture your mind.
And Kalam, he lived that. He showed us it's possible.
He did. And it makes you think, doesn't it, about that question he posed, that challenge for all of us. India, he said, would be a developed nation by 2020.
A bold statement.
It was. So how do we measure that? Where does India stand today in light of his vision? And what can we learn, each of us, from his life, from his journey, that can help guide us, push us to do better, to be better?
It's a question worth pondering, not just for India, but for the world.
Because in the end, that's Kalam's true legacy, the inspiration he sparked. He challenged us to dream bigger, to reach further, to build a world that's more equitable, more enlightened, and to never ever stop learning.
A journey worth taking, every step of the way. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the life and philosophy of APJ Abdul Kalam.